So this is BOPisodes, which means Born on Purpose episodes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Vic Buchenthaler. I think we'll call Vic a shipbuilder. Vic was the guy that founded a company called One World and built those ships for the Disney folks. Some of you might have heard of a ship called the Millennium Falcon. Now, where are you now?
I'm in Blaine, Washington, and it's a little place on the coast. It's right at the northern border to Canada.
Okay.
And it's a little sleepy little town that has a marina for my boat. And Marilyn and I have a condo that overlooks the water and the sunsets, and it's perfect.
Wow, pretty nice. But well, you work hard to earn that. You know, I hope you're enjoying it. So what I've been doing, Vic, is I've been finding people that I admire and have been successful in their chosen careers or whatever they're doing, and kind of asking them about, you know, and I start these interviews just with, you know, tell us a little bit about your background. Who are you? Where'd you come from? Grow up, education. And kind of what I'm looking for when I ask that question, what I'm really searching for is there some point in your life where you did something or something happened, or there was things that kind of lined up that made you go, man, this is what I want to do. This is the life for me. You know, that epiphany, that realization that, oh, this is what I love to do. Or were you like me and I wandered for years and years, just going, well, I like this, I like that, I don't know, this is kind of cool, that's kind of cool, and I didn't really settle on it, which was my purpose for kind of putting the show together, to help people, because I can't help but think that if I just figured it out sooner, I'd have gotten a little bit further along. You know, I'm grateful for where I've gotten, and I'm grateful for all of my experiences. But I think that if I'd have kind of focused a little bit harder or more purposefully, I think I would have been better. So I figured we could learn from each other. So where did you start out?
In Bellingham, Washington, and I grew up here, and I grew up in a house overlooking the water, and right down at the edge of the water there was a boat factory. And so I kept watching them, and I had this passion for watching them water test the boats and ship them out and everything, and I'd go down and rummage through their stuff, and so I had this magic feeling about the warmth of creativity, if you will. And so your end of things and my end of things are slightly different. As a builder, I actually felt that I was creating something. You know, I was creating, albeit someone else's dream, like your own, you see, and creating something that way. But that's the hook for me. Is I love to work with my hands and shapes and that sort of thing, and make a difference creativity-wise.
Did you just fire right into that? I mean, was that like your first job?
I had a series of jobs and that sort of thing, but really I was knowing that I didn't want to go to university full on. I did some university classes and stuff like that, but I was tired of school and I wanted to work, and I was a young hippie, so I had work and a good life that I felt was important to me. I also did trade school, and I think that's something I believe in fully. And you know, I ended up, and I tell everyone, if I tell you this, you know, don't tell others that I'm really trained as a painter.
Well, okay, well, I'll try to talk the editor out of taking that out, but that's pretty humorous. I think I'll leave it in. So
I can sneak into the situations without people understanding that I have that background, and I can call bullshit if I need to. So
okay.
Yeah. I started working at a boat factory in 1970. And so fiberglass, that comes out to, this is my 50th year.
Wow. Wow. So half a century working with fiberglass. Wow.
Yeah.
And you don't like have another head somewhere, like popping out of your back or
No, yeah, I think it's preserved me at all the resins. I think it's another nicely, you know, I think you can hardly tell.
Well, I have to tell you a story about that, because when I was 18, 19 years old, I was learning how to paint too. So I was painting cars. I was doing that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the mentors, the guys that I learned from were other painters, and they were always, all the ones that I met were just wacky. I mean, they were just from the fumes, shaky, wacky, and the whole thing. You were never like that. You were always solid as a rock. But all these other guys that were really wacky, and it was one of the things that I remember putting in my brain about painting was, this is like what you get to down this road. You know, so yes, I want to learn how to do this properly, but maybe it's not a great life choice, you know?
I did a study with the University of Washington and why painters ended up being that way. And so they monitored our people, you know, and for like 5 years, you know, and it really came down to a real simple thing, that the chemicals that are driven into your skin, and the solvents especially, those actually trigger something up in your head. So those painters, when they went to the bar after work, as we all did, those guys would get looped on 3 beers, you see, and it released the endorphins that made them want to keep doing that. And so one thing leads to another, where another guy that doesn't paint, he might be a 6-beer guy before he gets a buzz, you know? So it's they're onto it. They know that happens, you know. And now you just try to tell everyone, wear gloves, you know, do the things for yourself that make sense.
But I also remember the sort of laissez-faire hippie attitude that I had when I was working with the smell of the things and watching it kind of mix together, and the feel and the tactile sense of it, and the, screw it, I'm only exposing myself for a short time here. Okay, get over it, everybody.
I didn't go to Vietnam to fight the war because I was building boats, and I built all of the jet boats for Vietnam. But, at the same time, I had long hair and didn't want to go to Vietnam. And when they drafted me anyways, and I went in for the last physical, the induction physical, and at the very end of the thing, the doctor shakes my hand and says, "I'm sorry, son, there's nothing here that'll keep you out." And he looks at my hand as he's shaking my hand, and he goes, "Hey, you've got dermatitis." so here I was. And so that kept me out of the war.
Wow, well. I just missed it. I'm about 6 months to a year too young. They stopped the draft. But, when I turned 18, about 6 months before I turned 18, they stopped the draft for me. So I missed it. But good thing to miss, I think.
Yeah, I had gotten a long time, and with school and taking trade school and all of that, so I could keep my 2S, and worked also. But then they threw that out, gave you another year, and so that I in that lottery deal that they did, I was in the first lottery. They moved me to the second lottery, and that's history.
So at that time, you were building those boats. Was it with a private company that was working with the Navy, or?
Yeah, it was the largest builder of fiberglass boats for the Navy, and it was called Uniflight. And then later, that factory sold to Chris Craft and Tolly Craft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are household words to any boater. Anybody that knows anything about, even if you don't know about boats. I don't know much about boats, but I've heard those names.
I also opened up a new factory in Florida in '85 for Donzi boats, and those are go fast, extremely fast boats. And for the time, in Florida, that's perfect kind of boat for them. And then I opened up another new factory up in Michigan, in Holland, Michigan, and that was for S2 yachts, which is Tierra and Pursuit and S2 sailboats, so powerboats and so a lot of stuff. And then I worked out to have my own business in the old Uniflight factory.
Okay.
For 18 years before I came to China.
Wow. So in that time, I mean, you started at painting. You went through fiberglass, which is, it's akin to painting, in terms of chemicals and applications and stuff. But it also led you down dozens of other paths, design paths and interior type. The yachts and so forth. They have amazing interiors, that are very specialized in aircraft oriented stuff. So when I went back to architecture school, one of the things that I loved about architecture, because I first started in art school, I went to ASU in Arizona and studied, painting and drawing. It wasn't quite enough for me. So I went back, and when you go to architecture school, a good architect learns bloody everything. They engineering, they learn materials, they learn design, they learn interior, they learn exterior, they learn about a lot of things, which is what attracted me to it, because it was a sort of an everything. In my floundering, not knowing what the hell I wanted to do, I wanted the biggest pot of tools that I could get, with the most interest. The same thing seems to have happened to you, but in a more focused and working way. If you chose this boat thing, which, water physics and, the dynamics of stuff.
Yeah, I think, and to add on to that, I was really involved with how to take a shape and modify it and bring it about to the new model. And so you were able to use all those skills, those hand skills and that sort of thing, to create something new. And also the techniques, so the methodology of how you're going to get there. I was able to see all these different ways of creating molds, and it was just a lot of fun. And working with the Navy, you actually got to do some really crazy things with new materials. And so I built the first stealth boats, and very cool stuff. And
wow. So you got to rub elbows with some cutting edge folks, that were doing new technologies and wow. So
and I did the first production Kevlar vinyl ester boats, and I also did. There's a company called Janicki that was carving. Okay, they were carving things for Boeing, and so I went and saw them, and I had them do the first what we call one-off tooling, so I could make a boat out of it, a 54-foot boat for a customer. He had a dream. He knew a hull that he really wanted. So then I had them do one-off molds. So they carved them. Then I could build right out of that, straighten it up, get it prepared, and I could build parts out of that.
Okay.
For his boat. And it was quite fun. A lot of neat things. And that was really where I kept thinking later in China about the tooling aspect. And so our company, One World, really was started to build tooling. But then you get involved in China that there's no one that you trust to build the parts, and no one that you would dare have paint, and then no one that you would have put it all together. So kind of a series of events that cause you to do more.
The way I ran into you, of course, was it wasn't boat related. It was theme park related. It was I met you when we were doing the project in Hong Kong for Ocean Park, where they were adding a whole new aquarium, and they had this amazing gigantic feature that people can go see now, thanks to Vic. And he was able to put it together. And what I knew and appreciated about you was the amazing problem solving that you brought to the table, in terms of in a very, very practical way. It wasn't just, in my field, I deal with a lot of creative folks that come up with really, really, really cool ideas, and they can sketch them and they really look awesome, but they're like impossible to build, because you have to take those ideas and those sketches and put them in the physical universe, and sometimes it just don't work, But
I'm glad you said that, because that's one of my favorite things that happen, in a project. And I've had mutual friends of ours dump a stack of drawings on the table and say, pick anything you want in there to do. And it happened to be all of the Smuggler's Cove for Shanghai. And so it was all the pirate ships and that sort of thing. So I chose to do the two big pirate ships, that are 140 feet long, and each. So that was, for me, that was really fun. There were things on it like their crew, just like when I met you and you guys came to our shop and we talked about how we would do it. They came and they said, how on earth would you ever do that bow sprit on the Flying Dutchman? And I'd look at it and I'd say, blur your eyes and look at this blurring your eyes. And I said, what do you see? And they go, well, we see 4 kind of strong areas. And I said, those are pipe. Those are pipe coming out of the structure of the ship. And the rest is cladding, And so, because they couldn't figure out how they were going to do that, how they could possibly do it. So
structurally, yeah.
Because that sprit is 30 feet long or whatever. So it was fun to break it apart. You pull something apart, and then it's doable. You can see it then. And so I kind of like that kind of thing. So I'm a sucker for it.
Well, and you've gotten your hands dirty with it. Literally, that's the big difference, and that's where what a vital gift to bring to a designer. In the sense that the designers, and I don't consider myself a horribly creative guy. I have my moments, but there's guys that are much, much better than me that can just think of really wow stuff. And those guys are off in the clouds, and they need, it's just a vital thing to need somebody like you that takes the things out of the clouds and turns them into a reality. So,
honestly, that's very nice of you.
Well, so valuable character, and then I watched you, as you said, you taught, you came to China. You were looking at the what were the needs that were in China, which kind of led you in a slightly different direction, because you started making theme park stuff. And which kind of led you to where some of the stuff that you're doing now with a lot of stuff with Disney and Universal Studios. Originally, you were building boats and yachts and things like that, and you started to train people, about how to do all the things that you needed to do, and which is another amazing compliment that I want to give you is the patience, the ability. I don't want to jabber on, it's your interview, but one of the things that people do, and I'm guilty of, and almost everybody else is guilty of, when you learn about something, you learn it in depth, and then when you talk to other people about it, you're talking from depth, and it's technobabble to the other guy. The other guy that doesn't know about it, you're doing these technical terms and all that stuff. They lose you, and that's why. And then they shut up. You're able to go all the way back to the beginning and find where they are, and then talk at that level to bring them up to where you need them to be, which is a skill of patience and tremendous awareness, I think, to look at your audience and see where they're at.
When we go to different management training throughout our history and different factories that we've been in, and we were first told you have to treat every single person the same, and then you quickly find out that everyone's different and that we have to treat them differently, not the same, and you have to try to not misjudge people and to give them avenues that they can expand in, and still maybe have that patience you mentioned, but to keep them growing all the time. And now, think of some of the people that that worked with me, and they're experts. They're good people, and Raleigh, Victor, Tanny, all of those guys are really super people and in their trade. So really fun to see them.
Gold stars for that, Vic, because you created a garden for them to grow and blossom in, and I know the people you're speaking of, the people in the audience probably don't, but they're spectacular, stellar people now, and you created an environment that allowed them to grow and blossom, and which is another thing that I admire you greatly for, because so many of us kind of get fixed, and I just went through a time where, I've been working so hard and doing stuff that I know and I'm such an expert, and then I ran into a management change, and it knocked me off my high horse, in the sense of, who I am and how much experience I have, and I got caught in that trap of feeling important, as opposed to just really looking at what was needed and really doing what I needed to do. Tell us about some of the challenges that you found doing that. Tell us a little bit about that in your industry, because you went from boats. A lot of the people I've been interviewing, of course, have been in our field of theme parks and the creation of theme parks and that sort of stuff. Now we find you in this industry now. You're one of the top guys now to go to for Disney. If they have a problem, they pick up the phone and call Vic. Which is,
it's nice. It's nice that you say that, and it's nice that it exists. I can say, we just had finished that. We just finished a castle in Hong Kong. And we are doing some things for Universal up in Beijing, and some very, very cool things. Each one has some really cool things about it. But, and then Star Wars stuff that we did, the Millennium Falcons for both Florida and California, and it was going so well with Disney with those, they dumped another ship on us. So, for both places. So it was quite something. I say that they put someone that was accidentally the perfect person for us to deal with, and his name is Mitch Gill, and he was just an incredible human being. His vision of what he wanted was, and he got more than he wanted. So he learned that he couldn't go to his people and get something done 3D wise. He could go to Tanny, and he could find ways. And here's this group of people that have super skills. And so he'd learn, and we talked a little bit about tooling methods. And so we demonstrated that we were a 3D company, but we could use that to CNC cut wood shapes and do a quick mold. And so he could watch that being done within a 2-day visit that he was there and go, wow. And I caught him looking out the window into the shop, and I said, Mitch, you okay? And he goes, you guys own this. I've never seen anyone be able to do this like this. This is crazy. So those little things of passion, my passion, our people's passions that in the work, that all makes it work. That makes then, because we all have frustration, we all get, kicked around. But, that to me, to make it so that what we're doing for the client is really important to us and to them, and that we're able to do it, and the trust there, the trust between them, he would allow us to go in a direction that maybe nobody else at Disney would have let us do because they didn't know us. Mitch learned what our strong points were, and so we were very lucky, I think. Also, I had Dave Clare and his company, Claro, and Annette Crump, who is a longtime Disney person. Those two people helped us get along well with Disney. So one of them would sit in a meeting every week, with them. We'd be on the phone, but they could see everything, and it made it possible for us to excel. So
there's a couple of jewels in there for anybody that's out there in the world. You have to demonstrate competence, and then you got to demonstrate it to the right folks. And then the fact that you were remote, but you had somebody in the room, you know, I mean, like we're doing this interview, I can see your face. It's not quite as good as being face to face, but at least I can, we can kind of see each other's reactions and stuff. You kind of need that, as somebody that's supplying anything for anybody.
The comfort level, and I think too, maybe we were smart about, we'd done a QR system, that tracked everything, every part, every mold, every drawing, so at that point they could see a progressive thinking, in our minds, and so they could know status-wise where we were at the moment.
Wow.
You see,
and that's
that's
an investment.
That system was very cool. But then we also had an open situation where we had 8 cameras around the shop that they could look at any time. And so by doing so, it just erased all the mistrust. Mm-hmm. The vendor, we were truly not adversarial. We were really there as a partner.
Wow. So you set up that win-win, attitude and environment, and open book kind of, here's what's going on at any time. And I'm sure that there were challenges and problems.
Oh yeah.
And everyone knew about them instantly whenever they occurred.
Instantly. When the Google map changed their map and it showed that we were staging 2 spaceships outside. And I had to call them because we had curtains up, we had so that people in apartments couldn't see or anything like that. So we're promising them that, nobody would see this. We didn't think about Google Map,
Wow.
And so I call up and I tell them, I go, listen, here's a snapshot of this, from what we just saw
from space.
I was as nervous as I had been on that whole project, and the guy started laughing. Mitch started laughing, and he goes, "Vic, it looks just like another one of those big fuel tanks that are out there."
Okay.
So he's screw it. It's good.
That's a pretty good story.
I think it's when they trust you, because we didn't want anything to go wrong,
Sure.
and frankly, that was a really important thing. And, for us to be concerned and that we wanted it right, not just phony right, but real right, and yeah. So
wow. Let's talk about the industry. I mean, this is fun stuff, and it's interesting how you solved it. And I think that huge lesson for everybody. I've seen things change in how Disney works with people. I've watched over the years because I've never worked directly for Disney, but I've worked as a vendor to Disney. And when I did it, it was really tough. It was really, really difficult because big company, they're the state of the art. They're the big guys on the top of the mountain, and you had to do what they said, and they kind of push you around, and they're very, very demanding. And I didn't like it because it didn't give you any latitude or anything. They just assumed you didn't know what you were doing, and they assumed that you weren't as good as you needed to be. So they were hypercritical, and then it was difficult to get paid, and there was all those problems that they had because they were the big kid on the block. So they pushed everybody else around. They have now grown, and I think I don't know how much of it to attribute to you and what you taught them through your working with them, but they started to have respect for some of their best vendors, and I'm sure that this developed over time, where they begin to kind of loosen things up and respect the experts that they were hiring, just like the characters you're talking to us about.
That's a very good point. And I think that the movement was when we came off of doing the pirate ships, they came and looked for us, you see, from doing that. Because they had been around, we did a lot of hotel stuff up there too, and all of that. But they came and looked for us because they liked the attitude. We were the people up there working all the time. All of our people had a great attitude, and so they came and visited us and told us that they had a big project and all of that, and but that they wanted to handle it different. And that they wanted to be like a team, and not adversarial, not screw with us. And what we said, what they say, made the whole plan. Okay, wow. And so, of course, knowing me, that sounded like utopia to me. That sounded great. And so we did that, and it was truly the way to go for us, for our style. However, they tried to do it with some other people, and it didn't work.
Okay.
Because they were not in that open sharing kind of way. They were hiding stuff, you know what I mean, and didn't hold up their end of it. They didn't know how to act in that situation.
I understand that coming from the architecture world and building construction, because I started out in sets and scenery and making movie sets and stuff like that. In that world, there's a camaraderie. We're going to do whatever it takes to get the film in the can, and if you had to work all night and you had to do, whatever you had to do. That changed when I moved into the construction world, where I was doing big themed construction stuff. Construction was, and I used to think, and wrongly, when you hired a subcontractor, that they were going to help you get your project done. That's not why they're in business. They're in business to make money, and I learned that they're really not there to help you. They're there to make money, So sometimes they make decisions and do things so that they make more money, not so that you get your project done. And it kind of it shocked me a little bit, and it's in my opinion, it's a bad way to do business, because you just trip each other up all the time. Going back to what you're talking about, this teamwork, where it's, listen, we truly have the same purpose in mind of getting the best project done as best as possible. And then you take off the gloves. You're no longer fighting to keep your subcontractor from ripping you off and losing money.
Right.
So
it's truly transparent at that point. It's very transparent, and I know that term is used a lot in China, and not necessarily about the real things, but it was really transparent. And we were so fortunate we got to work with the Lucas people, and that was they would hug and kisses. They'd bring in the big coffee table books with their whole team signing them, and we were like, and they were just, the closing comments with them is, we got more than we could have ever dreamt we could get.
Wow, well done.
This is great.
Speaking to that a little bit, I mean, we kind of talked about, one of my questions is, what mistakes are people making? I guess I'll ask you that in this industry, since we're kind of there. What are the mistakes that you see people doing, if we haven't already talked about them? What comes to mind?
Not believing in quality. I think the quality is number one. Your design, what you decide the scope is going to be, and then to never cheat the quality. If you cheat the quality, none of the other things, schedule, budget, none of the other things really make any difference, because you don't have the real product. You don't have the good product. So, I think you know me well enough that's what it's about to me, and it's about teaching people that same thing, and having that thing inside of them, that they know what I stood for. And so if I could say all the key people in our company understood what my decision would be if I was brought in on a problem, they know what I would tell. They know what I would say. There's no hidden secrets there. I don't go against Mother Nature, and I don't go across from physics. I think that we need to bring back in and understand the chemistry and understand why things do what they do.
Wow. There's a pearl of wisdom for everybody, and that extends further. I don't care what kind of business or industry you're in. There are those natural laws and natural principles and fundamentals that underlie everything, and that's why, that underlying why you should be doing what you're doing, and there is a time when good enough is perfect, in terms of, there's a point for deadlines, and there's a point for you're not spending money, but the greatest stuff that we have, the greatest movies, the most successful ones are the ones that went like crazy over budget and crazy over time to produce, but they gave us something that is intangible in terms of money and time. They're enduring, they were profitable. So,
and I think too that it's so easy for a company to say, "Oh, there's no money in it. We need to come off of this." You know what I mean? Or they don't have the staying ability in their heart. And I think that's the deal, is that our clients, they all need to understand that if they change things, it needs to change the price, up or down, but in our terms, we need to stand by the contracts, and we need to absolutely do what we were supposed to do in the quality that was supposed to be.
Okay, cool. And I think that's about ethics and that kind of stuff, which is also one of the things I admire about you, Dick. I always knew that I was going to get a straight answer whenever I talked to you about, even if it was ugly. Even if it wasn't going to be a good answer that I liked, it was going to be a truthful one based on real data and facts, and I think that's
all the people at One World too, they know what I'm going to say because it's consistency. I'm not going to say, oh, this time we should just forget about that. I can't do that, because we've all been burned. We've all been learned what we've learned, and it's an open book. I love to share it. I'll share that knowledge, but we got to do it.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you see happening in the future of this industry? And I think maybe we should define. Are you still making boats, or are you just doing theme park stuff now?
Yeah, we still make boats, and we make molds for boats for other people. Because that helps offset slower times, or whatever. Because as you know, the clients that we might have for theme parks are big projects, and they take a long time to come to life. You know what I mean? So you could be thinking that this is coming, and then there can be a coronavirus, or something else that can throw this all up in the wind. We looked at a few years ago. We decided, well, we need to move away from solid fiberglass. I mean, leaning that way. We need to think about GRC. And so doing the castle, 3/4 of that was GRC work, 1/4 of it was FRP work, GMP work. So, because of the fire regulations in all of these and all of the indoor things, it's just so we've looked at and we think that that's a real issue. If they quickly understood that there are some resins that could achieve that zero flame spread, then we could move together with them. But I think that's what should happen, is a panel with clients and vendors and say, let's have a discussion over this, and let's see what some of the ideas are from the vendors and from manufacturers, maybe, of raw materials. So I think there's a way to do it, to move forward, that we can supply for everyone. But putting a tariff on things coming from China didn't help us into the U.S., 25%. So that's a roadblock also. And so we have to be kind of careful. We're not sure that we would get the same kind of go-ahead that we did with all the Star Wars stuff, being that pretty much levels the playing field, even though we're paying a lot less labor rate and that sort of thing. It takes all of that away, all the benefit away. So although with Disney on that Star Wars stuff, they were so pleased that, if there was another Millennium Falcon somewhere, I'm sure that we'd be at the top of the list to do it.
Yeah,
so
understood.
That's
anything that sets up a fight, sets up a ridge,
Round one.
It stops creativity. It stops us humans from coming up with good solutions that will help everybody.
Like Paul Dugan, that we both know.
Mm-hmm.
He called the other day and picked my brain on a troublesome kind of project that he has, which is kind of funny because we probably bid on that project too, you know what I mean? But, he's trying to do well and cares about, he was asking the right questions, you know what I mean, on this product that would be on the top of the building with wind situation and the weights and that sort of thing. So he kind of understood that strength, of knowledge, of say composites and that sort of thing. He'd say, how can I do this and get lighter? And so I would share with him what we've done to create a stronger fiberglass product lighter. So
awesome.
So that we could in places like that. I think that we'll see more and more of those kind of things coming at us. How can you do this and fulfill the weight scenario? Because design-wise, everyone designs as much as they can into it, but then you got to build it. So that's the other problem. So.
Okay, well, you mentioned just a couple of definitions for folks out there. You mentioned GRC, FRP, things like that. GRC is glass fiber reinforced concrete, so it's another material that is used in building. And the nice thing about the GRC is that you can't catch it on fire. It doesn't have, it's concrete. It won't burn. So it doesn't create smoke. It doesn't do stuff like that. FRP, which is glass fiber reinforced polyester resins, that stuff will burn and it emits chemical smokes and things like that. So there's problems like that building codes and city codes and public spaces, you got to be careful, in terms of that. So, but things like Vic's saying, things are advancing, in terms of the use of them and how we deal with them and how we keep people safe and be able to fulfill the designer's dreams, to do stuff. And so pioneering and figuring that stuff out so that we all don't become jittery paint guys. So
yeah, hands are fairly straight.
Yeah, right.
Although if I put a plate in this, it shakes a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
But then I'm an old guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me kind of do a little bit of a wrap up question, and let's say somebody out there was interested in this field, in this. This either production of boats, ships, yachts, and or composite products, fiberglass and stuff like that. If they were interested in this industry, what would be the advice that you gave them? Where would you go? What would you do if you wanted to get started in something like this?
Call Rally.
So call Rally. Rally works for Vic at One World. They'll hire you up in a heartbeat, train you up.
I think we have a cultural problem, in China, the young men, they force themselves to get good grades so they can go to the university. Then they think that it's over. They think they'll be given a good job and get respect and that sort of thing, but they don't really want to work for it. Okay, so not always. Okay,
right.
So the young men, you have workers that you can get, but you really want people that see this as a way that they can be in this and grow and grow and grow and grow. Somebody could grow and want my job, that's okay. You know what I mean? But the locals aren't really like that. They're not really going for that, So, I'd say if somebody wants to commit to making a difference and is a great person with people, and then they should talk to us, because there's room for them and room for growth.
And I think I'll point out the bigger pearl in there. It's something that I've tried to live by. I know Vic is a walking, breathing example of always expanding, always growing, always looking for a way to learn more about. I don't care what it is, life or building or problem solving, or so it doesn't really matter what field you're interested in. Continue to grow and expand, because that notion that you're going to get a degree and you're done learning,
it's crazy.
Nuts. That's nuts. That only gives you the doors to walk into.
I think in the U.S., I think that we are more equipped to put value to anything that someone wants to do. like any field. They could be a plumber, they could be a shipwright, they could be a woodworker, whatever. It doesn't turn us off when that happens, you see. But in China, it's hard to motivate them to for that type of thing. They're taught that they should have a white shirt on, and that sort of thing. So I think that that's the kind of problem. But now we're more world relating to world jobs and that sort of thing. So maybe there's potential that people that come and see us, they're shocked and they think, wow, this is a great place, So maybe there'll be people that really want to get involved, want to do something. That would be my hope.
Cool, very cool. I think, and advice for everyone, no matter where they're at and what they're doing. But if you have an itch for theme park stuff and for boat stuff, give Vic a call. He's at One World. So I'll put a little, anybody that's watching this and that's interested, I'll put some contact information down for me and
our website would be good too. That One World website, One World Marine.
Okay, so I'll throw that in there so people are interested, or maybe you have a project that you need. Maybe you need a Millennium Falcon for your backyard.
Yeah. I think we get the toughest things.
Yeah. Cool.
Toughest jobs.
Well, thanks, Vic. It's been a real pleasure, and thanks so much for taking the time with us.
Bob, I love you, and wish you only the good stuff.
Okay, man. Take care. And stay safe during this interesting time that we're going through right now.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. It's probably the best cure.
My home situation here in Maryland and we have a beautiful view of the salt water here, and it's right out in front of us. And then I walk down for exercise to the marina, and my boat is there. So I think it's really like, oh, this is
wow. So Vic made himself a slice of heaven, and I think everybody has the capability to do that. But you have to take. Sometimes you take the challenging roads, and they're not tough because it's driven by passion, and I can feel it when I first met Vic right from the start. I can feel that there was that solid, principled passion for getting things right and doing what was needed, and that's kind of the pathway to heaven, and you're a living example of it. So thanks, Vic. Thanks a whole lot for spending time with us.
Okay.
All right.
See you.
Take care. All right.